Jimin, the BTS member known for being the best at hiding his emotions, stood right in front of Jungkook, his best friend and comrade in both the entertainment world and now, the military. In an instant, the emotional eruption occurred not only inside that military training room, but all over the world, where ARMY, BTS's fan community, watched and felt everything from afar. What truly lay behind those tears? And why did millions feel as though they, too, had lost something? This incident took place at the 5th Division training base, where Jimin and Jungkook were carrying out their mandatory military service. After previously bringing relief to the public by fulfilling their national duty with dedication, the mood suddenly shifted. Jungkook, unexpectedly, requested an early transfer, not due to disciplinary issues or violations. It was purely a personal decision, and that's what made it heavier, especially for Jimin, who had no chance to prepare. Carrying a sheet of authorization, Jungkook stood in the middle of a barack usually filled with laughter. That day, he appeared stiff, said little, and no one in that room, not even Jimin, truly understood the reason behind the transfer. When Jungkook finally revealed that he wanted to spend the remainder of his service in the military's arts and rehabilitation program, the silence that followed wasn't just shock, it was deep sorrow, a painful feeling of being left behind. Jimin is known to be tough and reserved with his feelings. Yet at that moment, his face couldn't hide the disappointment. When he finally said, "We can do anything as long as we're together, Jungkook," it wasn't just a farewell line. It was a cry of honesty, a confession from a friend who had anchored much of his emotional stability on the presence of someone now choosing a different path. What happened next sparked widespread discussion on social media. A short video showing Jimin sitting alone in the barracks, staring at the empty seat where he used to sit with Jungkook, spread quickly. Thousands of supportive messages flooded Weverse and Twitter. Fans wrote about how they felt like they were going through a personal breakup. And indeed, many admitted to crying after reading quotes from the conversation. Jungkook, in a personal statement shared through military communication channels, wrote, "I just want to end this in a meaningful way. But I know I made someone feel left behind." That line pierced many hearts. Behind his calm face, the public finally saw Jungkook as a regular human being, also vulnerable to inner conflict and guilt. Questions began to arise. Is this separation only temporary, or is it the beginning of a fracture in a bond that once seemed so solid? Many believe this to be the toughest test of Jimin and Jungkook's relationship, a moment that would define whether their friendship could truly endure time, distance, and life changes. The night before Jungkook's official transfer, the two sat together on the back bench of the barracks. No music, few words. Jimin softly said, "I'm scared everything will change." Jungkook replied, "I'm scared too, but I believe we'll still be us." No need for goodbye words. When the military vehicle arrived, there were only exchanged glances and one nod. Jimin stood tall, but when Jungkook saluted just for him, all defenses fell. Tears dropped, not from anger, but from loss. Yet amid this emotional eruption, waves of skepticism also emerged. Did all of this really happen as described? Many fans pointed to TikTok clips, unofficial audio snippets, and fan forums as their main sources of information. Until now, there has been no official statement from HYB or South Korean military authorities confirming this incident. Hence, the important question arises, is this reality? Or a narrative shaped by collective emotion and the power of social media? The lack of official documentation opens space for speculation. This could very well be a real moment captured by the keen eyes of fans, ever sensitive to even the slightest interaction from their idols. But we also cannot ignore the possibility that it's a product of emotional narrative crafted and amplified by digital platforms. Even tears can be misinterpreted when seen out of full visual context. I end today's entertainment world, especially in the highly curated and image-conscious K-pop industry. It's undeniable that every interaction, even those appearing personal, can be part of a carefully arranged larger narrative. This story of Jimin and Jungkook, whatever truth lies behind it, has created what can be called emotional reality, a collective perception that feels real because it touches so many hearts today. As an audience, we must ask ourselves, are we crying over events that truly happened, or over the power of a story built from fragmented moments and public interpretation? And more importantly, does this story teach us something about the importance of communication, closeness, and sincerity in human relationships, idol or not? One thing is clear, this isn't just about two BTS members. It's about a friendship tested by time and change, about the courage to choose and the courage to be left behind, and about how, even in the disciplined silence of the military, two hearts can speak louder than words. A moment that, for ARMY, will forever be an unforgettable piece of emotional history. The emotional eruption that occurred when Jimin cried over Jungkook's words wasn't just a touching event. It also became the root of a major question lingering in the minds of millions of fans. Did this really happen? As the virtual world flooded with video snippets, touching conversation transcripts, and emotional theories about the closeness of these two friends, one thing became vital to question. Are we witnessing reality? Or are we swept away by a narrative that's too perfect or too heartbreaking to be real? We are not talking about fiction. We are talking about two global icons, Jimin and Jungkook, members of one of the most influential boy groups in pop music history. Whatever they do, whatever they say, holds the power to spark thousands of reactions, thousands of articles, and millions of emotions. But here lies the problem. Is this viral story about tears, emotional farewells, and fear of change truly born from reality? Or is it created from fragments of imagination gathered, shaped, and spiced up by the digital world? What do we actually know? Let's examine this critically. At the time this article is written, there's not been a single official statement from HYB or the South Korean military authorities confirming the truth of this emotional story. All sources stem from unofficial video footage, viral audio clips on YouTube, active fanbase narratives on Twitter, and discussion forums that more often serve as perception fields rather than fact platforms. The question now is, why is there no clarification if this is truly significant? If such a major incident occurred, which is even referred to as an emotional turning point in the relationship of two BTS members, wouldn't it be logical for the agency to issue at least a brief statement? Or does the lack of statement make the story more believable by inviting speculation? Emotional reality. Are we crying over truth or story? Reality in today's digital world doesn't always mean what really happened. It can also mean what feels true. This is what's called emotional reality, a form of truth that needs no concrete evidence, just a deep enough emotional resonance to be considered real. This is what currently frames the story of Jimin and Jungkook. We feel it, we cry over it, we talk about it. But is that enough to call it fact? If all of this is indeed a constructed narrative, indirectly pieced together by fans, spread by algorithms, and spiced up by social media, then the big question we must ask is, can we still distinguish between real stories and manufactured emotions? If not, then we are in an illusionary space that toys not only with our minds but also our hearts. Healthy skepticism. Why it's needed. Pause for a moment. Ask yourself, do I believe this story because I saw it happen or because I want it to be true? There is a big difference between empathy born from direct experience and empathy driven by a narrative designed to tug at the heartstrings. Here are some questions that can help you think critically. Are there primary sources or direct evidence that can be independently verified? Do the videos or audios you saw have full context? Or are they merely clips made to create dramatic effects? Do the viral quotes come from official interviews or just fan account writings? Are the emotions you feel a reflection of a story you truly understand, or just an instant response to a viral atmosphere? By answering these questions, we not only protect ourselves from false information but also safeguard our emotional integrity from being manipulated by content that may not be authentic.